We have a 138 as well.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's show. You've joined the Paranormal Guys. We appreciate your attendance and checking in. Please remember to like, follow, share, and subscribe. Tonight, we're going to start something a little different. We're going to welcome a new sponsor in a new station. 99.1 on your FM dial just outside of Metro Atlanta. WDJY will be carrying our shows. So welcome them. And then, of course, I cannot forget, the chat is open. I'll have to open the phone lines up. We have Yergz Radio. That's YERGZ. You can go to yergzradio.com. You can hear us live or on repeat. And if you got a question for any of us, our guests, or just want to chime in, give us a holler. We will be more than glad to have you on the show. So let's see. Which of my cast and characters do I got back here first? I got the one and only B Dizzle. Hello, Bobby. How are you? Good.
I'm good.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. I like you having you here. So keep shut of trouble too. Mrs. Dizzle tells me.
Makes me sleepy. It's like a toddler. You're like running the energy out of me.
I'm gonna try. We're gonna make this work. We have the newest one, Bulldog, but we also call him Jason. We call him other names, but we won't go into that. Jason, you doing all right tonight?
Hanging in, man. Hanging in.
All right. And let's see who else we got back here. We got Miss Dina. Hello, Dina. How are you?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. All right. Well, I'm going to get this phone line kicked off. In the meantime, our guest is here, Vic. He is host of his own podcast. Well, you know what? I think I'm just going to let him tell us all about it because he'll do it much better than me, and I'll probably screw it up and say something stupid. So without further ado, Vic, welcome to the Paranormal Guys. We're glad you're here. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good. How about all of you?
Doing well, sir.
Doing well.
Very well.
Good.
Everything's soaking wet, but we're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here in the South, we're going to float away.
Yeah.
So, Vic, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you have your own show, and you like to talk about our favorite subject, the Bigfoot.
Well, I have 4 podcasts. I've got 2 Bigfoot-specific podcasts, 1 dogman-specific podcast, and 1 paranormal-themed podcast. The newest Bigfoot podcast is called My Bigfoot Sighting. And then the Bigfoot podcast I started back in 2016. I've been airing weekly episodes for. That one is Bigfoot Eyewitness Radio. And then the girl that brought me to the dance, of course, is Dogman Encounters Radio. I aired the first episode for Dogman Encounters August 22nd of 2015. And then the newest show is called My Paranormal Experience. That's a little over a year old. And on that show, we basically cover everything except Sasquatch and Dogman related experiences. So it's enough to keep me busy.
I've heard of 2 of those.
Yeah. I don't know how you do that. I can't manage hardly with 2 or 3. So
it's a lot of work. Definitely.
It is. It is. People don't realize it. So
Why do you think I only do 1?
you come in with ours. Was this a project of just love and adventure for you or curiosity? How did this start about?
Well, I used to co-host a Bigfoot-specific podcast way back in 2007 and 2008. That show was called Campfire Shadows, and I also co-host on it with a now deceased Shane McMahon. And back then on Campfire Shadows, we had regulars like Bear and Kumbo, Tim Kumbo Baker. Well, they would go out all the time and do investigations. And when they'd come back, of course, you'd want to hear what happened and all this. Well, one time they came back and they talked about someone in the group, I think it was, seeing what they called a dog-faced booger. Well, they're from the South, and I'm sure a lot of you know that a lot of people listening know that a Southern appellation for Sasquatch is booger. Well, or boogers, I should say. Well, they came back and talked about this whole dog-faced booger thing. And I'm thinking, okay, I know what a booger is, but what the heck is a dog-faced booger? So I asked them about that after the show. I can't remember if I asked Bear or Kumbo, but I had to find out more about that. And as they're explaining it, it sounded like a werewolf that they were describing. So I found out in a roundabout way that what they're talking about is commonly referred to as a dogman. So I did research into it, and it wasn't very long before I realized, okay, let's see, if you have an encounter with a booger, you can almost go to your corner grocery store and find someone to get help from, to speak with and whatnot. But if you encounter one of these dogman things, who do you go to try and get help to bring your life back into order? I thought, you know what, there's real need here. So fast forward years down the road, I think it was 2014, I had all the pieces together to basically bring dogmanencounters.com, the website, online. And then I started having eyewitnesses contacting me, and I started trying to help them come to terms with their encounters. And about a year or so, maybe over a year after that, I aired that first episode of the show. And basically the rest is history.
Ow.
Cool.
This is what I do.
Virginia, they used to call them wood boogers, I remember.
That's what my hat says.
Oh, was
Yeah.
My hat says wood
I
booger.
have to do my old man impression and look at the bottom of my glass.
I can't even see it. Really?
Good Lord. Well,
God.
so Vic, have you had any experiences with the Bigfoot, or is it just that you like hearing other people's stories, or sometimes trauma with the dogman?
Well, I've had what I believe to be, I'd say 99.9% sure, what was a true bona fide Sasquatch encounter. And then there have been two other encounters, situations I've been in where there's a strong possibility that it might have been a Sasquatch, but I didn't see it for sure. So, from what I did see, I think they were Sasquatch, but I can't confirm that.
Cool.
So, a lot of people are divided over this, and it's fighting words in some camps. Do you believe they're flesh and blood? Do you believe they're angels? Do you believe they're aliens? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, the longer you do what I do, it's only natural. It's like a natural evolution that you start to at one moment be convinced that they have to be flesh and blood creatures that are just out there trying to make a living. And the next thing you know, your paradigm shifts and you're convinced they have to be from the ether. So I just go back and forth. One moment being pretty convinced they have to be from the ether, supernatural beings. And then the next moment, you're convinced they have to be flesh and blood. So I really couldn't tell you what they are. It's a really
flesh and
good
blood
question.
while they're here.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Flesh and blood while they're on this in this plane
Realm. Do you believe they travel through portals?
Well, I've spoken with a lot of credible eyewitnesses who they definitely would make you think that they do travel through portals. I mean, some very credible eyewitnesses who will tell you point blank that they saw them either step out of or step into a portal. And I've heard that postulated before that they're flesh and blood when they're here, but I mean, that wouldn't explain some of the things that very credible eyewitnesses report that point soundly towards them being something other than flesh and blood. I mean, how could a flesh and blood creature emit blue flames from its body? So, yeah, I mean, there are things out there that just really make you scratch your head, and it's just so hard to put a finger on these guys.
Yeah.
It changes every time you start to nail it down too. Somebody will have a sighting that's completely out of left field, or they'll see those little people. I don't understand those guys.
Oh yeah. Maybe they're like shapeshifters or can have higher powers than we do.
Yeah,
Aliens.
the craziest thing I've ever heard was the fairy thing. How their lore parallels the fae. I'm like, man, start looking that up. That's a whole nother ball of wax.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a weird rabbit hole on that, but
yeah, It's a good one too. I like it. That's my drug.
A lot of people, Vic, they relate seeing orbs when they see them too. Which I've been out in the woods and seen orbs, and not necessarily Bigfoot, but it was something that shouldn't have been there.
Like what?
Well, that's it. I don't know. What do you think about that, Vic? Have you got any? Do you have any opinion on the orbs?
Well, quite a few credible eyewitnesses have reported that too, seeing orbs either right before or right after seeing these guys, seeing dogmen and Sasquatch. So there sure seems to be some kind of a connection. I don't know what that connection is, but yeah, that's something that too many credible eyewitnesses have reported just to dismiss as being nonsense. So yeah, I think there must be something to that.
Yeah, it's something that anybody that habituates always sees the orbs and stuff. It's always the guys that just have the campfire experiences that think they're just flesh and blood. You got these guys that got them living on their farm and they braid their horse's hair. They're always seeing orbs and stuff like that. Fairy braids are crazy, man. They get into the horse stable and start braiding the hair, the mane.
The fairies?
The Bigfoot do. But they call them fairy braids.
Fairy braids, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah. Welcome to the big show, deal. Fairy braids.
Yeah, you go down a rabbit hole tonight Googling that.
Wait just a minute. I've never heard of that.
They say they braid the horse hair. They have a little house on the prairie looking braids, like pigtails.
Oh, how cute.
Yeah. You've heard that too, haven't you, Vic? I
have. Some people call that a witch's knot. Some people claim that the wind does that, which when you think about how thick and how sturdy and rigid a horse's mane hairs are, it's really hard to imagine the wind tying their manes into braids like that. But some people claim that's what's going on. But yeah, there's got to be something above and beyond that.
Not braids. Not into braids, no.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up because
it's a whole thing.
Huh.
It's like a whole section of lore.
Oh my goodness!
They'll go into the stables in the morning, and the horse's hair will be, just done up.
See, wind couldn't do that inside the stables.
Yeah, it's
I agree.
Yeah, that's the thing. I haven't gone down the Fae rabbit hole yet.
I've got a whole episode coming up about it from Jason McLean.
Awesome.
I haven't put it out because he wants me to cut some stuff out. I'm like, oh man. But that's gonna be a good one for you to watch about that. It's gonna be so good. It's gonna have 2 pieces that I put out separately afterwards as clips.
Let me know.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right.
Sorry, Vic.
Sorry. I'm just adding to the conversation.
Yeah.
You're fine.
That is interesting when you see somebody talking of Dina that had never heard something and how it just blows their mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because some people go, oh yeah, I've been out in the woods, there's things out there, and then other people are like, no, what was that? How could that be? And I love watching the different reactions. And like Bobby mentioned, the little people, you have the fairy blades, you have the orbs. There's always something about these creatures that we have not either we haven't figured out, or it's another dimension that occasionally we just cross paths with, or I don't know. I'm at a loss sometimes trying to figure things out because it hurts my head.
What kind of weight do you give the tree structures, Vic? Do tree structures have like something else accompanying them for you to be excited about them?
Well, I'm not a researcher, so I don't get excited about any of that. I just try to help dogman eyewitnesses come to terms with their experiences. And, I happen to produce 2 Bigfoot specific podcasts, but I really do think that on the Sasquatch end of things, I do think that they do things like that. I guess maybe it's a combination of passing time, because as intelligent as they are, they don't have any TVs. So they have to pass their time and do something with all that intelligence to stimulate their minds. So I think, they build structures and do other things, but I think those structures have meanings. What those meanings are, we don't know, but no, I definitely do believe they build structures for various reasons, having said all that. Now, dogmen, it's been put out there that they do create structures sometimes. I don't know of anyone. I've never spoken with anyone who's actually seen a dogman do that. So I guess it's possible, as intelligent as they are, and they've got hands just like Sasquatch do. So I guess it's entirely possible. But like I said, I've yet to speak with any eyewitness that has told me about seeing that being done. So yeah, it's possible, but all I can do is guess on their end.
Do your eyewitnesses say they wear clothes? Not the eyewitnesses, but the dogmen?
Some eyewitnesses have reported seeing dogmen in clothes, but very, very rarely. So yeah, if they do ever have clothes on, number one, you're talking about a really small dogman, because these guys can be huge. I mean, on the upper end, 11, 12 feet tall.
Oh my gosh.
So and the most commonly reported size is right around in the 6 foot to 7 foot range. But these guys, even at that height, are way too robust to wear human clothing. So yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise that the people who have reported seeing these guys in clothes, which over the years I've been doing this, has probably been 3 eyewitnesses who've ever told me about that, witnessing a dogman in clothing or what might have been clothing. It's really few and far between when I encounter that.
What do you think the origin of dogmen are, or is? Origin.
The origin, that's anyone's guess. I mean, if they are supernatural beings, then yeah, that wipes that right off the table. If they're flesh and blood, I think they've been here with us the whole way. They just might predate us. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they do predate us. Where they come from, I mean, some people will tell you, oh, no, they're a government creation. They were created in a lab. Well, some dogmen today just might be coming from test tubes, but that wouldn't explain all the sightings that date way back. I mean, there was a sighting, the first documented sighting was in 1887 from Wexford County, Michigan. Now, you're going to tell me that any government in the world had technology to make a test tube dogman back then? No way. So, yeah, like I said, to qualify my statement, like I said, yeah, I mean, there might be dogmen running around now that were made in test tubes, basically, for lack of a better description. But if that's a case, then you still have other ones out there that definitely weren't. Where they came from, they might be aliens. I don't know, but there's something other.
That's
Have you seen that episode of Love, Death, and Robots with the Dogmen?
No, I sure have.
Netflix. Oh yeah, it's good. Check
Do
that out.
Do the sightings of the dogman seem to be
concentrated,
localized? Yeah, concentrated to any specific areas, or just widely spread out like your Bigfoot and Sasquatch and abdominal snowmen, stuff like that?
Oh no, yeah, they're widespread. I mean, I've spoken with eyewitnesses, I would imagine, several times over from every state except Hawaii. And I mean, I've literally spoken with thousands and thousands of dogman eyewitnesses. I don't moonlight doing this. This isn't a side hustle. No, I help dogman eyewitnesses for a living. And yeah, I mean, I took this on seriously back from the start. But yeah, I mean, West Coast, East Coast, down in the South, up north, up into Canada, in other countries.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I think I've spoken with eyewitnesses on every continent except for Antarctica. So they're all over.
Crazy.
Have there been any physical attacks or anything like that you?
There have been.
There have been.
There have
been, but they are very, very few and far between. It seems like a fad right now, and I can understand that fad because fear sells, but there's so many shows out there now that it seems like every time you turn around, this week's episode is all about the mind-eating dogman that'll split your skull and gobble down your brains.
Land between the legs.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I know as a fact that almost all of those accounts have to be fictional. when you deal with the volume that I do, like I said, I've spoken with thousands upon thousands of dogman eyewitnesses, and the grand total of credible eyewitnesses who have ever told me about being harmed, intentionally harmed by the dogman or dogmen they encountered is a whopping probably 7 or 8. Well, if you look at those metrics, okay, thousands upon thousands as far as a pool, a sample size, okay, how many credible eyewitnesses have told me about being attacked? 7 or 8? Well, if that's the case, then how can somebody over here who's doing good to speak with probably 30, 40, maybe 50 at the most dogman eyewitnesses in 1 year, how can they have every week a new show with a dogman attack victim? I mean, fear sells. If you don't have the scruples to put the truth ahead of making money, then yeah, I mean, what's stopping you from making up stories that are as frightening as possible, putting them out there for the public to consume as being non-fictional, and yeah, just lining your pockets? But if you do put truth first the way I do, then you just don't do that. I do have people contacting me way too often trying to lie their way onto the show. And one of the ways they try to do that is to reach out and try to report being attacked by a dogman. Well, if they do that, then I know if you're attacked by a dogman, then it was definitely close enough to you for you to notice certain things that only someone who was that close would be able to see and know. It's funny, this eyewitness wasn't attacked by the dogman that he encountered, but something really profound happened. I'm talking about an eyewitness, Michael Lawrence, who was on episodes 34 and 35 of Dogman Encounters. He talked about on those episodes how he was camping with his Boy Scout troop in the Anza Borrego Desert in California when he was a kid. And he said that not too long after going to sleep in his tent, he heard these footsteps approaching his tent. So he goes and looks out one of the vents and sees this small dogman and about an 8-footer, a 9-foot dogman with it. And he said that the small one came around to the door of his tent, and to his horror, the zipper started to open, started to unzip. And this juvenile dogman, this small dogman, proceeds to come into his tent and sit on his legs. And then before you know it, it starts licking his face. And when I read his report, because to reach out to me, I require eyewitnesses to submit reports to the website, to dogmanencounters.com. Well, when I'm reading his report, I'm reading this and thinking, okay, yeah, this is so over the top. I really need to vet this guy to make sure he's on the up and up. Well, I did. When I scheduled the first phone conversation with Mike, we had a little bit of small talk to kind of break the ice, and then, okay, down to brass tacks. Let's get down to it. I started firing vetting questions at him that only someone who was that close to a dogman would know the answers to. So I lobbed the first vetting question at him, and it was like me asking, okay, what color is a football? I mean, just instantly, boom, the correct answer came back. Wow. Well, how about, and then I asked another vetting question, only someone who was that close to a real bona fide dogman would know. He fired that right back. What do you hit a baseball with? I mean, it was that matter of fact, that quick. I'm thinking, this guy is a real deal here. That must have really happened. We recorded the show after we had a nice long talk about his experiences. That wasn't the only encounter he's had. But it's funny because after episodes 34 and 35 aired, where he talked about the encounters, especially the one in the Anza Borrego Desert where that dogman licked his face, people were coming out of the woodwork, sending me messages about shame on me for not vetting my guests and having him, an imposter like him, come on the show. And I'm just laughing, thinking, you know what? You don't know a thing about what you're talking about. He is the real deal. So, yeah, I mean, you do have people like him who they have profound experiences and they're telling the truth about those experiences. And yeah, I mean, that's great. That's how it should be. But unfortunately, on my prior point, it seems like I have just way too many people contacting me and trying to lie their way onto the show by reporting being supposedly attacked. A perfect example, a funny example for you to highlight that is, there was a guy who contacted me some time ago telling me about how he was supposedly horseback riding with friends in Kentucky. And they were all riding up this long, gradual hill. He was the last one in line. They said all of a sudden he noticed movement to his right, I think it was. So he turns his head and looks, and here's this huge dogman that comes walking up alongside him and his horse. And it was so big, he said it was looking right in his eye. Well, next thing he knows, he claims it swatted him across the chest, across the torso, and knocked him off his horse backwards. Well, when he told me that, I said, okay, if it did that, it must have wounded you, didn't it? And he said, yeah, it did. It gave me slash marks across my chest. I had to go to the hospital. Well, I said, well, sorry to hear about that, but if that happened, do you have any pictures of those wounds? And he says, yes, I do. Okay, gotcha. So I said, would you mind sending me any pictures of those wounds? He said, yeah, I'll definitely do that. So after that conversation, I contacted another person I know, and basically they were nice enough to put pieces in place because they live out in Colorado. They were nice enough to put pieces in place because they know two very well experienced trauma surgeons who specialize in dealing with people who are attacked by large predators like mountain lions and bears. Who better to look at these pictures and tell me their qualified opinion if these pictures of the wounds are showing legitimate wounds or not? Well, I don't take evidence that's given to me and just broadcast it all over the place. I don't send it out to anyone without permission from that person who sent that evidence to me beforehand. So I asked him, after I had these trauma surgeons lined up, I asked him, I said, okay, I've got a question for you. I've got two trauma surgeons who specialize in people who are attacked by large predators. I've got these trauma surgeons lined up, and they're more than willing to take a look at your pictures if you give me permission to send your pictures to them, that is, and give me their qualified opinion. Are you okay with me doing that? And he practically left skid marks getting out of there when I brought that to his attention. And that's the way it almost always is, time after time after time. So, yeah, I mean, it's just really frustrating. If you don't have anything better to do than to lie and try to lie your way on to someone's show, I mean, you need help. You really do.
Yeah.
They're out there.
Very odd.
Definitely.
I'd be really afraid of getting caught. I mean, that you've got to be really brazen to do that.
Well,
you know, what hoaxer. You can't not be a hoaxer.
What is it? Everybody wants their like 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, that's what they say.
It's true. Yeah, Vicky, when you were saying, I want to go back to your story with the Boy Scout. When he unzipped the tent, he was a Boy Scout or he was the leader? I was confused on that. Was he a young fella or was he an older gentleman at that time?
Yeah, he was a kid at the time, and no, he wasn't the troop leader. He was just a Boy Scout at the time, and you know, that's when that dogman, the juvenile, came around and unzipped the door and invited itself in. And as he was laying on his sleeping bag, he could see that 9-footer looking down at him through the vent. And he said that the look on the big one's face, he thinks it might have been the small one's mother or something. He said the look on that big one's face was basically akin to, don't you dare move. You stay right there.
Yeah, no kidding. That's one puppy I don't think I'd want on my lap. Another thing that you said that he had other visits, and that was something I wanted to ask you about, not just with him, but the people that we do believe have had legitimate experiences, for the lack of better things. A lot of them do have multiple experiences. Have you found that to be true? And if so, what do you think of that?
That's true. A lot of eyewitnesses do have multiples, but that's when it comes to dogmen, it's a canard to think that that's the norm, because the norm is most eyewitnesses only do have one encounter. A lot do, like I said, have multiples, but yeah, that's still the exception, not the norm. Most eyewitnesses do only have one encounter, not multiples. So yeah, it's all too easy when you listen to the show, when you hear so many eyewitnesses talking about their multiples, to think that that's the norm. But yeah, like I said, it's not.
May I ask how you help people? I mean, do you just take them through it, or do you do any type of counseling or hypnosis, or do you want to explain your process a little bit, or do you mind explaining your process a little bit?
No, I don't mind at all.
Okay.
You're going to find that, and I tell eyewitnesses this, 99.9% of the time when you have a dogman eyewitness who's having trouble coming to terms with their experience, and consequently they can't deal with their experience or experiences in a healthy way, it's due to their inability. It's not their fault. Human nature is to blame. Human nature is the son of a gun. It just means, obviously, that you're human. If you're exposed to certain experiences, it's pretty predictable how those experiences or that experience is going to affect you.
Right.
You're just wired that way because you're human. So again, it's not their fault, but I just basically explain to them 99.9% of the time, the fact that they're not able to come to terms with their encounter is due to their inability to see the true nature of their encounters for what they were. They're so taken off their game that they can't see what was really going on. Perfect example, when you have an eyewitness contact you and tell you, you know what, Vic, about 25 years ago, I used to live by this huge national forest. And back then, I was a huge nature nut. That's why I lived there. Well, when I would get bored back then, I would go on these nice long walks in the forest. And one summer day, it was a beautiful day. The weather was perfect. It was in the upper 70s, and I was off work. I was bored, didn't have anything to do. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go for a nice walk. So I made a sandwich, put together some other things, threw all that into a backpack, got some water too, threw that backpack over my shoulder, headed out the back door and into the forest. Well, it was a perfect day, like I said. The temp was in the upper 70s. There was a great breeze blowing. The scents of the forest were magical almost. I was having a great time. Well, I was a good distance into the forest having a great time when all of a sudden this giant 10-foot plus werewolf-looking thing jumps out right in front of me. And it's well within grabbing distance, and it's snarling and snapping at me, and it's reaching out for me, and then it's standing up, and it's reaching out for me, and then it's standing up, and these huge big gobulets of slobber and drool are running between its lower canines, and I can still remember the sound of those gobulets of slobber hitting the dirt, pitter-pattering, hitting the dirt right in front of my feet. It was just horrible, Vic. Well, I'm sure it was. What did you do? Well, I did the only thing I could think of, Vic. I screamed at the top of my lungs. I peed my pants. I collapsed in a heap at its feet, curled up into the fetal position, and just was almost going into convulsions. Well, I can understand you doing that, but when you did that, what did it do? Oh, it turned around and walked off into the trees, and I never saw it again. Oh, my goodness. You want to talk about a deadly kill you on sight monstrous killing machine. Here it had you dead to rights, dead to rights, and you left that experience without a single hair in your head being harmed, without a single hair in your head. You try that with a mountain grizzly bear, you try that with a tiger, with a Bengal tiger, and you tell me how that's going to work for you. That dog man left because it got what it wanted. So yeah, I mean, it's just their inability to see their experiences for what they really were, like I said, is due to the fact that they've been knocked off their game so far because of the trauma. They were unable to see. They're unable to see what, if it wasn't such a profound experience, it would be immediately evident to them what was going on. But because of them being so traumatized, they don't see what was really going on until I bring that to their attention. And then after I do, then they can start putting the pieces together. And I'll also share with them what I know about dogmen. That is a very common MO for those guys. I mean, they'll go miles out of their way to terrify you to within an inch of your life. And once they have, okay, well, I got what I wanted, move on. So that's basically what I do.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Another, not to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
Another perfect example of people being knocked off their game is, another one that stands out. about a guy going on a walk and parking his truck right in the middle of this green field and making it like maybe 200 yards into the wood line. And all of a sudden this huge dogman jumps out in front of him, and he's just paralyzed with fear at first. And he's just trying to figure out what he's going to do to save himself from this deadly, mindless, monstrous killing machine. So then he goes on to tell me, you know, I've always been a lightning fast runner. In fact, in college, I was all state. So I did the only thing I could think of to save myself from this dangerous, deadly, monstrous dogman, Vic. I spun on my heels and I ran as fast as I could, all 400 yards back to the ranger that day. Yeah. And every time I looked over my shoulder to see if it was coming after me, Vic, it was. Every time I checked, it was 6 feet behind me. 6 feet behind me, all 400 yards back to the ranger that day, Vic. Thank goodness I was so fast, I was able to save myself and stay 6 feet in front of that guy all the way back to the ranger. And making matters even worse, Vic, I got back to the ranger and I was so panicked, I forgot I had locked the doors. The keys were in my pocket. I had to run laps around the stupid truck all the while trying to keep far enough ahead of it to be able to fish my keys out of my pocket, Vic, and then stick my keys into the lock, unlock the door, Vic, open the door, and get into the truck, into the ranger before it got me. Now, you tell me, is that someone who's not seeing things for what they are? I mean, it's that way time after time after time. Yeah. These guys they know what they're doing. They're so intelligent. They know how to push our buttons. Okay. And that's the way it is, time after time, Dina. These guys are doing things like that. And because eyewitnesses are so rattled by the experiences, they think they saved themselves that day. They think that this or that is why the dogman that was trying to get me didn't get me. So, yeah, that's the essence of what I do.
Basically, the dogmen are just messing with you. They're just playing with you.
If you allow profanity, I would sum it up more.
I was going to say effing with you.
Yeah.
That almost came out, but
one of the I don't get many not first-hands, but I don't have many people that I would consider close to me ever tell me any experiences about a dogman. But a friend that he goes out in the woods all the time, and he just sleeps in his truck, so he doesn't have to set anything up. He'll go hiking all day, all night, and then just come back and crash in his truck. And he swears on his life that, and it's a lifted, I think it's a Dodge, it's a fairly full-size truck. He swears on his life that this thing knocked on the window, a dogman of the truck, and just sat there and stared at him. And he was absolutely terrified. He was so terrified he couldn't even, he had a pistol. He could have shot through the truck. And he was so terrified he didn't do it. And he swears that was, he said, just calmly walked off.
That fits. That fits. I hear that all the time. Experiences like that all the time. Them just messing with you because they know it's going to just mortify you. For some reason, they get their kicks. I think it's because they don't really spend much time feeding themselves. You're dealing with an apex predator that has an incredible amount of intelligence. So unfortunately, we are their entertainment in a lot of cases. So that's why I think that dogman, perfect example why it did that.
Makes sense. If they're that intelligent, it does. I'm sorry.
Have there been reports of one getting shot?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, plenty of reports. But normally you just don't see the desired effect. I mean, people have used very powerful weaponry. And it just doesn't work. That's right.
It one of the reasons maybe, I don't know, I'm no expert or no psychologist by any means, but it's so... But he's absolutely right. People are more shook by a dogman experience than they are by Bigfoot, a little person, a ghost. Maybe it's just because we associate the dog as man's best friend in our mind. I mean, I know that's cliche to say or whatever, but maybe that's part of it. But I've only seen one picture where I thought that could be real, and I looked at that for the longest time trying to figure out how it couldn't be real. So in your mind, it almost doesn't click.
Yeah, that's true. And also, too, in a lot of cases, they have different looks. I mean, some look as unassuming as a timber wolf that's able to stand up on his back legs, but some do look like werewolves. You just cannot tell that you're not looking at a bona fide werewolf. And yeah, I mean, that's just going to push the buttons of your reptilian brain. I
Yeah.
mean, we've been programmed to be terrified of werewolves. So when you encounter something that gives every indication it is a flesh and blood, real living werewolf, it is going to have that effect on you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that goes back to that primal instinct at that point.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Have you heard of any experiences or stories, or I guess experiences of an animal similar to it, but as a cat, like a cat man, or is that the right word?
Yeah.
Cat woman?
Wampus cat.
Man? Yeah, because Tennessee has the wampus cat that I've heard about.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, on my paranormal experience, one of the earlier episodes, I invited a lady on the show who actually told us on the show about seeing a 9-foot tall cat man. She was down in Florida and she said that she watched it, and she was very credible. She said that she saw it crossing the road right in front of her. I think she was in a truck at the time. So, yeah, it does happen. It definitely does. And that was episode 18 of My Paranormal Experience. If you go on YouTube and do a search for My Paranormal Experience, again, it's episode 18, titled, "Oh My God, I Saw a 9-foot Tall Cat Man."
I want to look
Oh
that.
my God.
I think that would terrify me even more.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's pretty.
Well, a dog man would terrify me too, but a cat, because cats in the woods, if you have ever had any experiences out in the woods with a cat, they're not fun. They're not
No.
fun at all. They will go out of their way to, like Vic was saying, almost mess with you. So I mean,
No.
I've got friends that have been search and rescuing out in the woods with their dogs and stuff, and he said it's very well known. You can see it; it trails me, and it's watching
Oh,
me
the
watch
cat.
it the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not a fan of those either. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Do dogman have hands like a person, or they got big paws?
Well,
Oh,
some eyewitnesses report them having what looks like extended paws like dog paws, but the space between the heel of the paw and the toes is kind of stretched in appearance.
Mhm.
Most eyewitnesses report them having hands that kind of look like giant raccoon hands, raccoon paws, basically. But yeah, they do have an opposable thumb and all that. Long talons.
Oh.
Mhm.
Like a bigger
Yes.
dog man can have 6-inch long talons on his fingertips.
Gum. That's scary.
Bone anchored claws.
Frickin'
Yeah,
scary.
that is.
I'm glad they don't. I mean, they just scare you and didn't want to move along because they could really tear something up. What have you ever had anybody that would try to like attack them, like attack the dogman and have a bad experience that they did attack back?
Well, yeah, they don't take well to being shot normally.
Well, yeah.
And that's why I tell people there's so many people that go out with a 45 and think they're protected against anything they come across, dogmen
Right.
included, which, yeah, that's crazy to think that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've spoken with very credible eyewitnesses who packed a heck of a lot more firepower than that. And the
Yeah.
gun that they used did not drop the dogman or stop it, didn't have the desired effect. So I always tell people, if you have a gun and you're thinking about shooting a dogman, highly recommend you only fire if you're convinced it's going to kill you anyway. Because if it's doing a bluff charge and you shoot it, okay, well, you probably just escalated things to being pretty darn serious then, where it doesn't want to bluff you, it's coming for you.
Yeah.
And
Well-
also, just to highlight something too, I should have brought up earlier, because you've got so many people who listen to shows where every other episode is just BS made up about dogmen attacking people.
Yeah.
They're convinced that these guys are wired to be so dangerous, and they really do. Every dogman out there almost does want to kill you if it gets a chance, which is complete nonsense because of the examples I highlighted earlier. I mean, where these guys will have people dead to rights time after time after time. When I speak with eyewitnesses, they were caught dead to rights by the dogmen they encountered, but they were allowed to go without a single scratch. And if these guys were wired to kill you on sight, that wouldn't be the case. Now, it'd be one thing if I'd only spoken with maybe 30 people, 30 dogman eyewitnesses.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, I've spoken with thousands. Think about that. I've spoken with thousands and thousands of dogman eyewitnesses. Some people will say, well, you haven't spoken to every dogman eyewitness, Vic. You talk about a lack of critical thinking here. And that's what the problem is. It's a lack of critical thinking when I hear that. No, I have not spoken with every dogman eyewitness, not even close. But when you're talking about a sample size of thousands, think about that, thousands and thousands of dogman eyewitnesses who were caught dead to rights, but yet they were allowed to leave their encounter without a single scratch. That does tell me, and it would tell anyone who can think critically, that these guys most definitely are not wired to be dangerous and to try to harm you, kill you if they have the opportunity. Critical thinking makes that perfectly clear that that is the case. Now, I'm never going to say these guys are safe to be around any more than I'm going to say that all camels are safe to be around, or horses, or house cats, pigs, because you name the critter, you're going to have deviant examples that will harm you or kill you if the opportunity presents itself. So why should dogmen be any different? You've got dogmen that aren't belligerent, that aren't necessarily dangerous by nature, but they might have gotten up on the wrong side of the log that morning, and now they are in a bad mood, and they will harm you if you encounter them. So yeah, I'm never going to say these guys are safe to be around, because that would be foolish to think. But I will tell you, because of the experience I've had dealing with a ridiculous number of dogman eyewitnesses over the years, it's perfectly clear that these guys are not wired to be dangerous. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Always made me question the land between the lakes too, you know?
Yeah.
That's like the holy grail of dogman encounters.
Yeah, and they'll tear you to pieces up there. That's why I've always questioned that.
It might have happened. That might be a genuine encounter there. I don't believe for a second the guy that came out and claimed to have been there. I don't believe that for a second. He actually went on to another podcast, and I've never spoken with him. Well, I spoke with him after the fact, after he contacted me to apologize, to let me know that the person who produces that podcast told him to make up this lie about me and call me a liar, when in fact, again, I've never spoken with him. But yeah, I don't believe that story at all, not for a second. From what I understand, that guy is deceased since he came out and made his rounds and all these shows trying to put that bogus story out. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate you've got people like that that cast shade on this whole subject, and that's one of the reasons why the whole dogman phenomenon is so hard to believe for so many people.
I'd just like to know what the questions you would ask that only a dogman encounteree would answer.
Well, see, that's the thing. Just because you have an encounter with a dogman, that doesn't mean that you're going to have the answers to those questions. But if a dogman is close, I mean, close beyond a certain range, on top of you close, then yeah, you will be able to see these features. So yeah, I don't reveal that for obvious reasons. That's a trump card. But yeah, I mean, I can't do that with people who see them from a distance.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense. I kind of like that strategy. You've got the couple little inside baseballs. You can't, only certain people would know.
Oh, sure. I mean, it just depends. You have to have a certain level of knowledge about dogmen to be able to do that, but it's no different than someone who understands bears, even just a general knowledge about bears. If somebody came back and told you, hey, I was out west and I saw this bear that was brown, dark brown in color, and it had like a hump on its back between its front shoulder blades, and
Mm-hmm.
its hair was kind of silver tipped. Well, you're going to know instantly what kind of bear they're talking about seeing, even though they
Right.
don't know the name of the bear. So, yes, just things like that. After you have a certain level of knowledge about these guys, you can use that knowledge to pick out certain pieces. And a lot of times these eyewitnesses will tell you things that jump out at you. Okay, well, yeah. Somebody that's sitting on the couch and never had an encounter, they're not going to know that. So that's how you do it.
Wow. So that makes this super interesting to me all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like way more than it was.
Oh,
That
sure.
means there's inside baseball to it. Well, it was interesting before.
I know.
But this makes it more of a. This makes me want to see one just so you can ask me those questions.
There is. For type 3s, that's just a big quagmire right there. Some people call them type 3 Bigfoot, type 3 dogmen. They're neither. They have bone-anchored claws. All type 3s have bone-anchored claws, which would disqualify them. That's a disqualifying anatomical feature of a Sasquatch, because Sasquatch have fingernails and toenails the way we do. And you're not going to just have a baby Sasquatch born with bone-anchored claws any more than any human has ever been, just as one of those random things, been born with bone-anchored claws.
Right.
That's just way too much of an adaptation that just doesn't happen randomly. Just like the fact that all type 3s have sharp teeth. Every tooth in their head is sharp. That's also an anatomical feature that disqualifies them from being a Sasquatch. So I can't tell you what they are, but I can tell you what they're not. They also, type 3s have hominid style legs, the way we do, the way Sasquatch do. So that right there is a disqualifying anatomical feature for being a canid. So yeah, they're definitely not a canid. So that rules out the possibility of them being a quote unquote dogman. But a lot of people still do call them dogmen. It's funny, years ago, I listened to a podcast where Linda Godfrey and a well-known dogman researcher named Hawk Spearman, who's passed away since then, but those two were guests on this podcast, and the two were arguing back and forth about type 3s, because Hawk was saying that type 3s are dogmen. I guess he didn't even know about the canine style with the hocks and the stifle joints instead of ankles and knees. He said his take was that type 3s with the hominid style legs and the baboon looking faces, that is what a dogman is. Linda Godfrey was telling him that no, that's not a dogman. Dogmen have hocks and stifle joints instead of ankles and knees the way we do. So they were kind of butting heads that way. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people in the South, they see that's a dogman right there to them. A type 3 is a dogman. But yeah, to basically land this plane, I can't tell you what a type 3 is, but I can tell you what it's not. It's not a canid. It's not a Sasquatch. It's something else.
Is that the Gudway neighborhood there?
Yeah, some people call them Gugways. Some people call them, I guess they say Janosqua has a different type of look, but yeah, Janosqua has a different kind of face and everything, but it has claws too and sharp teeth in its head. But yeah, some people call them different names, but the most common name for them is a type 3.
Wow.
I can even tell you. I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
Oh, what was the name? Well, type 3, is it called a type 3 cryptid or a type 3 Sasquatch?
Well, the general term is a type 3. Some people
just
tack the term dogman after that, type 3 dogman. Some people call them type 3 Sasquatch. But as far as knowing what's going on goes, what we're talking about, identifying whether an eyewitness is telling the truth about having an encounter with a canine style dogman or not, the same holds true with type 3s. I mean, if someone tells me that they saw a type 3 in the dark, saw their eye shine looking back at them, well, there's a way to tell in the dark. If you're seeing eye shine, there's a way to tell if it's a type 3 looking at you. You can tell definitively by the way the eye shine looks. That right there is a type 3. That's definitely not a canine type dogman. That's definitely not a Sasquatch. That right there is a type 3 looking at me, even though I can't see anything else other than its eyes reflecting, looking at me. So there's ways to do it if you know if you know enough about these guys.
Interesting.
Well, with you having interviewed so many, and it sounds like I don't know your background, but it sounds like you're taking the detective police work style, which I really like.
Yeah.
I really like the fact that there's somebody out there doing that, because like you said, and this is one of the reasons I didn't want my podcast to be completely paranormal. They're a dime a dozen. You can get every Bigfoot person. There's the high hanging fruit with the Meldrum and I'm at a loss for other names, but
Ron Moorhead.
Rod Moorhead. You can get all of them, and then you can go down and get, John Boy Billy on the corner that saw one. So that's why I like having a little diversity with it. I don't want to necessarily think that, we're all Bigfoot, everything. And that's the other thing. So many people are Bigfoot is everything they see in the woods. And I get so tired of that. Oh, that was a Bigfoot. That was a Bigfoot. That was a spider. And I get tired of that. So, and I'm sure you do too, Vic. And I like your the way you do it.
Methodology.
That's the word I wanted.
I have to translate sometimes.
Yeah. There's a language wasn't my first choice, but I like the way that you do it, so that it gives a lot more credibility to not only yourself, which is what we all want, but to what they're experiencing. So I like that.
Oh, thanks. I just feel like I owe it to them. I mean, every time you have someone lie about an experience like this with Dogman, it really takes the credibility down a notch. Now, I've put this out there on several other shows I've done, that I made a promise to myself. When I started airing shows, I made a promise to myself saying basically that I would much rather allow someone on the show who has lied the way onto the show, done a good enough job to make me think they were telling the truth about their experience. I'd much rather play the fool and let that person come on the show than to stonewall a bona fide Dogman eyewitness who, for whatever reason, due to their delivery, or there's so many ways to tell the truth, but because of how you present it, for some reason, to this person you're talking to, it doesn't sound believable. So, I made a promise to myself that I would much rather play the fool and allow someone on the show who's lying their way on than to stonewall a bona fide eyewitness who actually is telling the truth, but for whatever reason, I don't believe them. Now, if I do catch an eyewitness in a lie, then that's it right there. Game over. They're not going to come on the show. But if I don't catch them in a lie, then that's when what I just told you comes into play. I would much rather play the fool, like I said, and let that person on who's a good liar. And there are a lot of people out there who are really good liars. I'd much rather let that person on than keep a true eyewitness off for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's good policy, I think.
Well, Vic, I know like everybody else, your time is precious, and we got an hour out of you. Before we let you go, tell us where everybody can find you. What do you think? You got anything big, major coming up? You making a movie or anything, or what's going on in your world?
Making a movie? No, nothing out of the ordinary. It's kind of funny. I just aired the 500th episode of Dogman Encounters. It's funny you asked that, because I aired the 500th episode of Dogman Encounters last Friday night. And then I also aired the 400th episode of Bigfoot Eyewitness Radio the week before that, the Friday before that.
Very cool.
So, hitting some milestones there. I never thought I would make it to the 500th episode of Dogman Encounters any more than I thought I'd be recording the 400th episode of Bigfoot Eyewitness Radio. So, it's really a shock. I'm already over 100 episodes into my Bigfoot sighting and just tickling the 100 episode mark of my paranormal experience. So it's hard to believe we've made it this far, but I have. Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And where can they find you?
Well, you can listen to all the shows. The best way to listen to all 4 podcasts is not via YouTube. It's via your favorite podcast app. Now, Dogman Encounters, my Bigfoot sighting, and my paranormal experience, all 3 of those are available for viewing on YouTube. But like I said, all 4 shows are available on your favorite podcast app, no matter what the podcast app is. If you do a search for Dogman Encounters, my Bigfoot sighting, Bigfoot Eyewitness Radio, or my paranormal experience using your favorite podcast app, then it's really easy to find them and listen that way.
Okay.
Great.
On YouTube, is it under your name or just the name of the shows?
The show names.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, Vic, I appreciate you coming on. I will message you here in a couple days and let you know how everything's going with the show. You did a great job with me when I came on your show, and I appreciate you returning the favor, letting me on. And to all of your viewers that have hopped over here, please, please, please thumbs up the video, like, follow, share. We definitely need it in the algorithm. So that's everybody says that though.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
All right, Vic, you have a nice evening. We will talk to you soon.
You too. Thank you much.
Thanks.
Have
It
a
was
good
fun.
night. It was.
All right.
It was.
Thanks.
All right, let's do a quick little thing here. I gotta get this in. Everybody remember, this is going to be our first episode on WDJY, so make sure to check us out there.
Let's get ready to rumble!
I'm Miranda Maverick, and when I'm in fight camp, I never listen to the Sportcat podcast.
I just have to do that. I love her. Okay, well, we've got a real treat now. Not that Vic wasn't. Vic was great. We have a special guest co-host tonight, Marcello. Let's get that down out of your way there, Marcello. I don't never want to cover that natural beauty. We are going to try and steal from Ross, but I don't know. He's Secret Service. He threatens me, so I don't know. Marcello, how are you this evening?
Well, I was fine until that. I could never leave Ross.
Oh,
come on. He's over here texting me. What are you doing?
I could never.
No, I would never really steal anyone from Ross, but you are welcome here anytime. I want you to know. By the way, let me introduce around here. That's Bobby Dizzle up there in the top. Next to them is Bulldog, which is also named as Jason. And then to your other side there is Dina.
no.
Well, you know Dina.
Hey,
already.
how are you doing?
Yeah,
We met the
hi.
other night.
That's
Good,
right.
how are you doing?
Tell us a little bit about yourself real quick. Isaac is hiding in the background, and I don't want to keep him too long, but tell us a little bit about yourself real quick.
So, I mean, like, what do you guys want to know? I'm a psychic. Let's start with that one. That always makes people go, Yeah,
That's a
I've
biggie.
been speaking to spirits my entire life, which was not fun until I learned to just tell everybody, this is what I do. I can usually read people. I don't on purpose because sometimes I see things that I don't want to see. I'm a mom. I have, with my adopted daughter, 6 and 2.5 grandchildren. I love Bigfoot. I've seen Bigfoot, so I love Bigfoot.
Awesome.
And what else can I tell you about? I love Ross. Ross is my new bestie, and we have this great rapport. And
Y'all got chemistry there, and when you're talking, it's really kind of like two close friends talking, and I like
Yeah,
it. So.
I like that too.
Well, with you saying all that, now we're gonna have to get you on and just interview you. So we'll have
you're
to do
interviewing
that.
one of my good friends. I cannot wait to see his face.
Yeah,
Isaac, I
well,
hope you have your camera.
he is backstage. Let's bring him back here. Isaac, are you there? We see just an eye. Where are you, Isaac? Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we cannot see you.
I know. It's like I'm gonna start the video, but this room is a little dark, so I apologize in advance. I don't do this too often, so
That's
I want
a
to
mystery.
apologize for that.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Hey,
bad.
there you are.
I'm always too bright. Like,
Dina. That's
That-
what you really cute.
I was looking for a room, perfect room, and my stepchildren are all being loud and everything. So I'm like, I don't want to be like, the dogs fighting. My kids are like, everywhere.
it's okay.
But I really appreciate you guys having me tonight.
sure.
Hey, Isaac.
Hey.
Yeah, that was a surprise. I didn't tell you she was going to be here, so I don't know. You may have told him, I didn't. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Isaac.
Yeah, so as you can tell probably my accent, I grew up in Puerto Rico, and in Puerto Rico, in the Caribbean especially, there's a lot of beliefs and folklore and stuff that differently from the United States. When you come here, there's a lot of skepticism that does not live in the Caribbean. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
People are more apt to believe that there's something special going on that we don't understand. And then when you come here, it's like, the debunkers, come right out right away. And then, they tell you why it shouldn't be, instead of, looking at it from the, every perspective.
Right.
So, I went to college and I joined the 82nd Airborne. I was in the 82nd Airborne Division in the Army. And then from there, I went to Desert Storm. Then I left the military, and then I became a hostage negotiator, FBI trained hostage negotiator. And that's what I do nowadays. I go around the country teaching people or businesses how to be a successful negotiator, like a hostage negotiator. Actually, today I was giving a class. And then last week I was teaching some people in Arizona how to do it. So that's what I do nowadays. Now, because we're talking about paranormal, I'm gonna tell you what my real interest is. I know we're gonna talk about Bigfoot, and I wanted to bring up the Colorado case. That was the reason. But what I really like about paranormal is cattle mutilation. That's what I really, really like. And
that's interesting.
And the reason why that is, if you guys think about it, is the only crime in the U.S. that is not investigated and is always unsolved, and basically law enforcement do not put any resources. Nobody cares.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, and then we can blame cults and what have you, but nobody can tell you what technology they use. Nobody can tell you how they did it so quickly. Nobody can tell you why they did so many. I mean, I've been reading and studying this for years now. I mean, I even listened to Art Bell, if you guys remember him. Remember him, Art Bell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he used to have people there, interviewed about this. And so it always intrigues me, because I'm like, to me, it's like there has to be an explanation, logical explanation that maybe we don't understand. And that always fascinates me. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Great.
I'll tell you what I get, the vibe I get from the cattle mutilations is their millabs. It looks like something the government's using the technology they found in Area 51 to perfect it. Yeah, I mean, cause what's an alien? Alien's going to do with the cow, but just a dead cow that's gutted, completely dry. It feels like they're using technology on like non-consequential beings.
Yeah, but how would they? How would they get?
It's the government.
Oh, that's true.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They did it to you 2 years ago.
But there's a case of this couple. There's a case. Yeah, there's a case of this couple that happened not too long ago. Actually, they're still alive and all that. And it was really interesting because they went to tag this little calf, right? Mm-hmm. And they go to the house, which is like 10 minutes away. When they go back, the calf is mutilated.
Yeah.
Mutilated. And then the dog started barking and all that. And I'm thinking, okay, if it was the government, like Bobby's saying, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't think they have the technology of going so fast in there,
right? Going
in and out in such a fascinating way. And also if let's say, for example, for the sake of argument that it was the government, okay? Mm-hmm. Why would they always take the same parts, which is the tongue, the internal organs, part of the face, I'm sorry to say this, the anus.
Yeah.
Why do they always take that? And to me, there has to be a reason why, specific as to why those parts are always taken. Now let's talk about right now in our contemporary times. Let's just analyze, all of us here, smart minds. Let's talk about this. If it's for DNA, why take those parts? If it's to study the technology of blood, why not just suck them out of blood and just leave everything else?
Right.
If it's because they want to see if we don't see them, why do it in so open in the Midwest, from the Midwest to Texas? So the thing is, I like to come to this with a detective mind, trying to put logic in a way that, okay, so yeah, it might be us humans, but then at the same time, do we have the means to do that? And if we do have the means, why are we doing it? Now, if it's not us and somebody else is doing it, what kind of technology do they possess, and why are they doing it? And I even read articles from the 1800s that this has been happening since the 1800s. There are reported cases where you see the old print, remember the old newspapers, and you see that there were ranchers that were suffering from this. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to,
that's true.
Monopolize the conversation, but I just
no, I'm enjoying it.
Go with it.
Yeah. So if it's been happening from the 1800s, which Abraham Lincoln was the president then, what motivation did the North have at the time to do all this? And then we keep doing it. I mean, as you know, the United States government, they do something and then move on from that, and they go to something else. They don't have the energy to keep doing, especially administration after administration. Yeah. Anyhow, so that's kind of my passion. As you can tell, that I actually read. And there's an interesting study from this scientist that he went to a farm where there was a cattle mutilation, and he did a like an X-ray of the area where the cow landed. And he noticed that there was an impression, maybe like 2 feet from where the cow landed, meaning that the cow was dropped, it bounced, and it landed on the spot that it rested.
Oh.
So, and then he estimated, based on the weight of the cow, how far, and I think he said 250 feet, at least, from high down.
Oh, wow.
That makes me think it's aliens.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's aliens, even if it's us.
Yeah.
I'm like, I used to jump out of planes. You know how long it took me to go to the ground? I mean, even if I didn't have a parachute, it would take me at least 10 seconds to hit the ground from like 1,500 feet or whatever. Yeah. But so anyway, so the approach that I take is what's going on, why it's going on. And I just hope we can find out before I die, because it will be kind of cool to know.
I didn't know about the 1800s thing.
Yeah. Well, look at the parts that they're taking, though. You said the tongue. This has to do with the vocals. They're testing to see if these animals can communicate. There's some reason that they're taking the bovine, right? There's something about their bodies that is interesting to them. It must be maybe their reproductive system, maybe something else. But definitely, it's going to have to do with communication when it comes to taking the tongue and the vocal cords, etc.
Yeah. You know what my theory is, Marcella, and you're going to laugh?
I'm always
my theory is that for them is a cuisine. They love how it tastes.
So you're saying they're Puerto Rican.
I like that. But to me, it could be as simple as we just like it. It's our food source. To me, it could be
possible, but it could be something to do with studying the tongue, the vocal cords. It could be something to do with that as well.
I like that. Yeah, I never heard that before, though.
Their jowl in the teeth or the lip. It could be anything to do with that.
Do they take further down, like the esophagus, into the lungs, or is it just usually the tongue?
Yeah, it's usually the tongue. Yeah, and the funny part is, like, when they take the organs from inside, sometimes they remove the organs through the anus. They don't even like open it and just remove it. They actually extract.
Yeah, extract it. No blood.
Extract it. And I'm like, how can you do that in such a short amount of time and be so precise? Where people say they did not touch any other organs but the organs that they wanted to take.
Right.
I don't know any special chef in this humankind that actually can be that precise to actually cut. Even the surgeons where they go inside, they accidentally cut parts that they're not supposed to.
Yeah, it's very
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Very precision cuts, like laser cuts.
Yeah. And Sportcat, I'm sorry, I deviated from the conversation of the Bigfoot, so
you know what? I love this because you brought up something I never even thought of.
Yeah.
we were talking about there's no police reports. And I don't know if I never knew that or if I just never thought about it.
No, there are hundreds of police reports. What
not
happens
investigations.
Is that the investigation stops. They look at it, they're like, we don't know. It could be a coyote, it could be a cult, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But
Wile E. Coyote, maybe.
There's no resources put into it, especially when a cow, it's thousands of dollars, especially if it's a bull that's been taken in the Midwest. These farmers are like before I came to the show, I was looking, and just in Texas, the last article that I found was in Texas, and there were 6 of them, and then they found another one, which is 7. Now, if you count that, each cow is at least almost $10,000. So right there is a loss of $100,000 farmer, and usually they say that the insurance doesn't cover it. So there's no motive for the farmer to actually kill the cows because they don't get anything out of it. They just lose their cattle. Mm-hmm. So, and then I also look at the motivation. Why, the motivation to me is really important. Like, as you guys were talking about detective work, okay? When people do a crime and we have all done something, there's always a motivation behind it. If we took a pack of gum when we were kids, it's because we wanted to chew the pack of gum. Right. If we did something, as humans, there's always, it could be jealousy, it could be whatever motivation, but there's always a motivation. And then, so when it comes to this phenomena of the cattle, I'm like, what is the motivation? Like Bobby said, if it's the government, what is the motivation? Why are they doing it?
I saw an article just this past week, as a matter of fact, happened to stumble across some cow mutilation stuff, that there was an article that said that there was 2, and I think they were state troopers in Georgia that had gotten clearance to do a study on this cow mutilation stuff. And they had been to several scenes, and they compared to what they saw with everything as basically just the natural decomposition of the cow.
No.
And I was like, I just don't see that, but they backed it up with a lot of stuff too.
You know something? I know that. I'm glad you said that, Bulldog, because I also read that once this happens, no other animal approaches the carcass. No flies, no birds, no rodents. Nobody wants to touch that thing.
You're right, Isaac.
Yeah, and the animals, they have a high sense of smell. So what is this thing smelling like? It's almost like a repellent.
Yeah.
That's something going on. And then when they go and as a lot of times, because they have no blood, they take a little longer actually to decompose.
Yeah.
You go there 2 weeks after, and you can still see that the cows. And you guys can look this up. And it might have been a prank, I don't know, but there was a photographer in Madison that went to this abandoned farm, and she found all these cattle on a roof, and they were all dead. Just look it up, and then they were all dead, but they have been dropped on the roof. They concluded because if they would have been alive, they would have ran out and jumped out of the roof.
Madison,
Wisconsin.
It's just really mystifying to me.
Was it Wisconsin?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Madison, Alabama, down the road from where I live.
Probably.
Are you doing it, Bobby? Are you doing it?
Yeah. That's why I'm taking my illnesses.
Is this in every state, or have you found, or let me back up here. Is this been reported in every state?
So from what I see, most of the reports are in the Midwest.
Yeah.
From Texas up to North Dakota, that alley right there like that. And also in Australia happens a lot internationally. And in Britain has happened also. So it's not only cows. Like if you look it up, also there was an Air Force sergeant that were in Socorro, New Mexico. There's a case in Socorro, New Mexico, and they were together. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. And so they were together on duty and what have you. And this flying object, whatever, came down, and the sergeant was standing next to his colleague, and this arm came out of the saucer and grabbed this Air Force sergeant and took him. And the guy went to report it and to the police, and they couldn't find the guy until 3 days later when he appeared in this mountain kind of cold or whatever, and he was just like a cattle mutilation. His tongue was gone, his reproductive parts were gone, his shirt and all that, like, you know, and it was 3 days later. So it has also happened to humans, and there was no explanation as to why. And then of course I'm like, is this like a folk's tale? So then I looked, and there's actual report. It's actually a report of it that was taken, actually, that it actually happened. And so I'm like, okay. And there was another guy in Brazil, same thing happened, a farmer. He was farming, nobody could find them. And also they found them several days later with exactly the same condition that you find the cows when this happened to them. So I think that if humans started disappearing like that, I think we would care a little more about it. But because it's happened to animals, people are like, I don't know. And because we are so, how do you say, no, we don't want a reputation to be tainted by us believing in something else that may not be human. You know, when you're, especially when I was a police officer, if you tell me, if Bobby told me, hey, Isaac, I lost 2 cows, and I go there, and Bobby's like, I don't know what did it. I didn't see any any coyotes. I didn't see any dogs, whatever. And I look at it, and I'm like, well, this is weird, but I mean, I'm sorry, it sucks to be you. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, right.
What are police? What are they going to do?
Yeah, and not only that, I don't want to appear as crazy when I'm entertaining the idea that there may have been something up there. So. Yeah. I think that because we're still in this mindset that because if we don't understand that it has to be human, but we cannot explain that it's human, I think that that's the reason that we don't pursue it more.
Yeah,
I think we're discounting humans a little bit, though. When the ancient Egyptians mummified bodies, they used a specific tool to go through the nose to pull out the brain. So maybe this is a similar type of procedure. But at the same time, like I said, if you're looking at aliens are supposed to be, according to what I know, they're the evolved forms of humans. They're at the state where they no longer require vocal cords to communicate because we will be communicating telepathically. So we won't need mouths. Maybe they're studying us to see why, or if they can evolve again using that. And maybe tongues regenerate, right? That's one of the parts of the bodies that actually regenerate. So maybe they're collecting these as specimens, and cows are just easy. They're so abundant, right?
Yeah. And I was going to tell you the reason I'm interested in this subject was because, like I told you, I grew up in Puerto Rico and I grew up in a farm, and we used to have cows. And I remember I was 9 years old, and we went out and we had this brown cow, like reddish brown. And I remember we went out, my dad and I couldn't find it. And we went out, and I remember like it was yesterday that I saw it laying on the side. And at the time I was a kid. I have no idea, but it displayed the same characteristics as a mutilated cow. And in Puerto Rico, we don't have wolves, we don't have coyotes, we only have dogs, and the dogs are not that whatever. And it was a very small community, and if there would have been a dog from our neighbors, we would have known, because everybody knew that this person had a dog, that person had a dog, whatever. And when I was a kid, I'm like, okay, I don't understand it. Well, there's no blood, but okay. And then my dad was like, maybe it was my dad was joking. Maybe it was aliens. Maybe it was, and then it was like, okay, we lost it, and that was it. And then we moved on from there. We didn't call the police, nothing like that. But then I think that stayed in my mind because I always have this inquisitive mind as to what happened, why it happened. And to this day, I'm trying to figure it out why this keeps happening, and what the future looks like regarding, this non-stoppable phenomena that keeps occurring.
Oh, sorry.
Puerto Rico, we really don't have, I'm half Puerto Rican. So in Puerto Rican, the only thing that we could think of is, barring putting aside los cucos, when we're growing up, the chupacabras.
Yeah.
It's the only other thing I can think of.
That's the chupacabra, which you just said?
Yeah. Chupacabra.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna. That was one of my questions. I was gonna ask: is there any, for the lack of better words, monsters besides for the chupacabra? I guess now, or is no Bigfoot or anything like that?
Aliens are very popular. I mean, maybe that's the wrong word, but they're very common in Puerto Rico. And if you look at one of those classified videos, one of them was in Puerto Rico over the ocean. One of the saucers that was flying really fast. Now, I'm going to tell you a story that's hearsay that my sister told me. And my parents still live there, and they live in a rural area. There's a lot of vegetation and everything like that. So my sister was visiting my parents, and they saw this thing, this spaceship. And it was on my neighbor's home on top of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister started yelling at my parents, come out, come out, come out. You got to see this. You got to see this. And then when my parents come out, they said that it moved towards the ridge of a mountain. And then from there, it kind of like zigged and went, and left. And my sister was really rattled when she told me this, because it was not a helicopter, it was not making any noise. And it was just hovering over our cousin's house right there. And then she described to me, had lights and all of that. And I was in the military, and I told her, describe it to me. Maybe it was something, whatever, and nothing that the way she described it, and she drew it for me. It looked like nothing that I know of, but I was also going to tell you that I'm an author also, and Arcela knows this. And my first book was a paranormal book. Yeah, that one. Yeah, Time Unwanted. And it was about ghosts, and it's a ghost story basically. So I've always been interested in this, kind of like theme, kind of subject. Mm-hmm. So even though I try to come from the analytical. But you can never do that, because if you don't understand it, there's no analytics that you can actually decipher, right? Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Bob. Go ahead, Sportcat. I'm sorry.
No, I was just because that's true. And like the previous person, Vic, I like the analytical mind. I like the way to try and solve the riddle. And
yeah.
I like you said, I don't know that we'll ever hear it before we go, but.
Yeah, but I like Vic. Vic was a really very good guest, by the way. That was great. You guys found him, because I like the way that he actually thought about things. He actually expressed, because a lot of people, like you say, like he said, I like to ask people questions, to make sure that the source is reliable. And I thought I was impressed by that, because not many people say that.
Right. Yeah, I like the way he approached things. And
I felt like you were dealing with a doctor almost.
Yeah, true.
You were talking to a therapist about it.
Yeah,
true.
Tell me what you thought. Tell me what you thought about that.
How does it make you feel?
He did have a nice voice as well. Very, very smooth voice. I like that as well.
He had his camera off because he was jotting down notes about us the whole time.
Top left corner, he's crazy.
I was trying to understand the football thing he was saying.
He was just giving examples of
football, right?
He was giving examples of questions he would ask, and only somebody would know.
Oh, okay.
And the questions were proprietary because he don't want to give it away.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
I was curious too. It's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I had to flesh it out in my mind.
And then I had to think about it.
Well, I knew what he meant, but I'm like, why is he not telling us what the questions are? It would be much simpler.
Look, they don't want to.
Yeah, I know. Well, I figured it out after the fact.
I know.
Yeah. Now, another thing I want to say about the cattle mutilations. I'm sorry I keep talking about it, but
no, keep going.
Another thing is like I've read a lot of the work of actually field people that go out to these sites, and they talk to ranchers, and they actually study the animal and so forth. And they're as puzzled as I am. Like, I feel like, because I'm really interested, if I was in the Midwest and I would go to South Dakota somewhere and I would talk to a farmer, I feel like I would be like, I'll just throw my hands up, because I'll be like, go there and I'm like, okay, there's a cow, and there's no blood, nobody's looking at it. And you tell me you were here like an hour ago and it was okay, and now it's gone and you didn't see anything. And I'll be like, oh my God, like I have no witnesses, right? If we got talk about it like a police officer. I have no witnesses. I have no evidence. I have no fingerprints. I have no DNA. I have nothing to go on. And that's the part, that to me that blows my mind. And if, like Bobby said, well, it might be the government, but then at the same time, what kind of resources are they using? If it's the government, how are they doing it so efficiently? And I work for the government, and the government's not that efficient.
Me too.
It's not.
Me too. They argue more than anything.
Just rolled them out.
We've worked for the government too.
Yeah, right.
Local government, but still, I know how it works.
Yeah. And everybody has to be involved in the decision, and nobody can agree, and it takes forever to actually spend the resources and so forth. And I used to work in Arlington, right here in Virginia, and DARPA. If you guys know what DARPA is is basically the research of the military. Basically, they're the ones that come with it. Actually, I don't know if you guys knew that Siri was developed by DARPA. Siri on the iPhone, it was developed by DARPA, and they actually provided it to Apple. They sold it to Apple, the technology. So it was first a military thing that they created. So, when we talk about, and then I used to guard that building from time to time. That was one of the gigs that we could do. And the scientists will go there and so forth. But when you will go there, they're almost like blindfolded you, like almost like you cannot look at anybody's office. You have to like straightforward, and they don't want you to do anything. And I actually gave classes to the CIA of negotiation right here in Langley, Virginia, which is like about 20 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
And the DARPA was even more secretive than the CIA when I went into the building.
That's weird.
Yeah, right?
DARPA's the weather guys, aren't they? That's the weather manipulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's what they say. But I mean, I could talk all night, guys. I mean, I'm like.
No, I like it. I like it a lot.
We'll let you come back and talk some more. You know that? We'll let you come back and talk anytime you want to.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a topic well, and you're passionate and excited about it. And I like that because we don't get that from a lot of guests. Some guests, I feel like I'm pulling teeth almost,
Maybe it's time you wrote a book on the cow mutilations, Isaac.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Maybe it's time you wrote a book about the mutilations of the cows.
Well, the thing is, like I was telling you, it's like I would like, if I was going to do that research and do that. But as a matter of fact, my third book right now, I was actually writing before I came on. It's going to be about a cult. And, so it's going to be about a cult that has to do with monkeys and all that stuff. So that book is going to...
You said monkeys?
Yeah. Yeah, so in Puerto Rico, there's an island that is only inhabited by monkeys.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Really?
Yeah,
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So I'm creating a fictional story where this cult is just killing people with these monkeys that live in that island. So yeah,
you put them on the island with the monkeys.
Yeah, so they're training the monkeys to eat people, basically. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be gross.
No, it's funny. I like it.
I thought you were talking about Jim Jones. He sold monkeys to pay for his.
Oh,
cult.
Remember 1979, Guyana?
Yeah, he sold spider monkeys door to door to pay for his cult.
Oh, I didn't know that. I have to read about that.
And in Guyana, they had a chimp named Mr. Muggs, and they shot him in the head.
They did?
In Guyana, with a 45 before they poisoned everybody.
Oh, wow.
I have to look at that.
R.I.P. Mr. Muggs.
Yeah, Mr.
But as a kid, I remember watching the black and white TV and seeing all those people laying down. I remember that.
So sad.
Yeah, and to me, still one of the things. And then, when we talk about, when I used to have the FBI training about hostage negotiation and barricades like Waco was a cult. And how is it? In Tampa. Oh, they have an island like that with monkeys. I didn't know. I'm gonna have to look into that.
He's being facetious, I assume.
They have one. They have a Silver Springs in that has the invasive monkeys in Florida.
Yeah, they're coming.
I mean, I've heard of them, but I didn't know they were on an island. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know
Ross
that either.
may be lying about it. Ross may be lying about the island, but it happened.
I don't know.
It's happened.
Yeah. So this island in Puerto Rico, they brought the monkeys in the 1920s as an experiment, like lab. to use them as a lab. What happened is the lab closed and they just let the monkeys roam around, and now the monkeys live in that island. But the problem is, as you know, in the Caribbean, hurricanes are like, they're like candy on Halloween.
Yeah.
So, they come and go in the summer. So what's going on is that, I'm gonna have to look at that. Thank you, Monroe. So what happened now that there used to be like 20, and now they're like over 1,000. But the last Hurricane Maria, when Trump went to Puerto Rico, remember that whole thing? Yeah. So now that kind of like took a lot of vegetation out, and they have to feed them more. They give them like Purina food or something like that, kind of like.
Okay.
I have to say something. I met a person that was taking care of monkeys, and I didn't know that until I noticed her hand, and she was missing like the ring finger. She was missing half of it, and I said, "I'm sorry," and I'm because I'm inquisitive. I said, "I'm sorry. What happened? You're so young. you're." And she said, "Because I was a new person working at the zoo." And I put my hand through the cage, and the chimpanzee bit my and she said that's something, and apparently that's very common. She said if you see somebody that works in a zoo and they're missing part of their finger, it's because a monkey actually bit that off. So I agree with the person that says that monkeys are evil, because
we were told
They
the
could be
CDC,
mean.
of course, they experiment and do things with monkeys, and I'm sure other animals. And it was in our fire department's area if it was to ever catch on fire. And we're not even told how deep down the building goes. But like you, we were taken hostage and carried into the building. And they told us literally, if the building ever catches on fire to the extent that it's out of control, do not try and rescue the monkeys. They will attack and kill you while you're trying to rescue them. They said, let it burn. Aside from all the bad stuff at the CDC, they were just like, just let it all go. We'll build another one. So,
just leave them in there. You'll hear.
I got to say, as a firefighter, that would probably be one of the last things on my mind is rescuing a monkey. I know. I could tell you a horror story. You crawl as you go through a burning building, and you open the door, you go in, and you search the room. You do it rapidly to make sure there's no kids or anything. And I'm doing this in a burning building, and I open the door, and as soon as I open the door, this damn lizard that had a head the size of a cow face to face with me, and I'm like, nope.
Oh no.
So my captain, he was used to dealing with reptiles. He immediately went in and got it. It was some kind of I don't know anything about reptiles, but it was apparently a pet. And I was like, nope, not today. So
some of those things like which ones are the ones that actually are very like they walk like the crocodile, like the alligators, they walk like crocodiles, but they don't go in the water, but they have this bite. Which one is that one that they?
That's the kimono dragon.
There you go, that one. That one.
Kimono?
And if I don't know if you guys ever heard the story, and I was thinking that's what you saw, Sportcat. But I was thinking that I think it was. Oh wow, jeez, that's scary.
That is scary.
Oh my god, yeah.
That's Collage. That's my goddaughter.
Yeah.
Oh.
But there was. I think it was Stone, the actor
name.
Stone. What was that? What's the name? First name?
Sharon?
The one that did Basic Instinct.
Yeah,
Sharon
Sharon
Stone.
Stone.
Yeah, Sharon Stone. I think was it her husband that got her foot bitten off by a Komodo dragon. I thought that. And anyway, they were somewhere, and the guy got too close, and that thing just ripped his foot off like that.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
they're the ones that bite things, and they just follow them because the poison kills them.
Yeah.
When the thing finally falls over, it swallows a whole.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because the other day I saw on YouTube that one of them bit like an elk and was following it into the water, and I'm like, why is he like following like it? Like it didn't matter. And
yeah, like Michael Myers. He's just walking. He's just walking like Michael Myers, man. Jason Voorhees.
And they swallowed the stuff whole?
Yeah, take a look. They'll swallow these giant deer whole.
Oh my!
All they got to do is bite it. They just bite it just a little bit, and then they just follow it across like for miles. Humans too.
Wow.
Like you can't go into that preserve if you're a human because
any of you from Texas? Any of you from Texas?
No, one of the
So-
other ladies
I
is.
went. So I never seen a crocodile in my life, or alligator, whatever. So I go to Texas, right? And I'm giving a training, and they're like, "Hey, you want to come to my house?" And I'm like, "Yeah, for dinner. Yeah, fine." So we go, right? And they have like a pond, like out there in the backyard. And I see this little things like out on the water, like two of them. And I'm like, "What is that?" And I'm like a little kid. What is that? And they're like, they're like alligators. I'm like, what? They're like right behind by your house. Two of them right there. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, coming to Texas. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not. Yeah.
I'm going home, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
I don't have these problems. I'm from New York City. I'm gonna stay put.
There's supposed to be alligators in the sewers there.
Yeah.
No.
But I wanted to, before I go, I wanted to talk to you guys about and the reason I came to the show was to talk about that Bigfoot sighting in Colorado.
Oh yeah.
Which
Wait,
I read a lot
you've seen
about.
Bigfoot?
The train one?
Yeah, the train one. Yeah.
Oh.
And I was like, and again, what is the motivation, right? And then I was reading that the train now is getting more people than they used to.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like, okay, so and the train says they claim they didn't do it, and that they had nothing to do with us, but now they're selling out. So the issue that I have is like, okay, the train had a motivation to do it, and that's the problem when that I don't like to think about debunking things, because they had a commercial gain from that. Mm-hmm. So then I'm like, now it makes me doubt. I'm like, did they plan it and so and all that, mm-hmm. And I'm like, but if it was real, I'm like, I've been to New Mexico and it almost looks like that, like what I saw. And it's really rough to get up there. I mean, it's really rough. And then I was reading about the topography of that place where they saw it. And they said that it's very remote, that it's really hard to get up there. So I'm like, if somebody did it, they have to be camping out like for a day or two before they saw the train, or the night before or something. And and then somebody had to be on the train calling them and say, "Hey, you go now, start walking."
Go now, we're getting ready to pass.
Yeah, did you get a good shot? Okay, I'm gonna sit down now. Okay, did you get that?
That was my point. It just casually just sat down and looked at the train. I was like,
right?
That's shady to me.
Yeah. But the thing that mystified me about that is like it looked just like the vegetation around him. Like
they do.
Yeah, the skin and what have you. I'm like, so I'm 50-50 on it. How do you guys feel about it?
Well, my rule of thumb is if I know a Bigfoot video is fake if there's a Bigfoot in it, and so that's
that's not true.
Yeah, that's how you know if there's like a plain picture. If
it was a blob, it would be the real thing.
Nobody
that there's no red circles around it.
Yeah.
My thing is that it did look too staged.
Yeah.
And then once again, now, I mean, obviously people get excited and, we have these 4K cameras and everything, but they're doing this, and I understand you're excited. You're seeing a Bigfoot, blah, 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 whatever. But if you've got that good of one, you're in a safe spot.
Yeah.
Why are you jumping around like a schoolgirl? I mean,
yeah.
So that was my thought on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you say, and this is what I love about this group. You see how we're analyzing and we're like coming with this own stuff. Like like I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the camera. I didn't think about that. But it's almost like a think tank that we have going on here, and I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wendell, I haven't seen that video, that one.
I haven't seen that video, the tunnel. I have not seen that one.
I have not seen that video.
Wow, are you still watching? We got to watch that tonight.
Yeah, I wonder. So what does it show? Does it show that Bigfoot also, that other video?
Is he peeking around the corner?
I've learned my lesson watching videos that Wendell recommended.
Yeah, I got my tickets right here.
Yeah.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm not watching Wendell recommended videos.
close. I guess.
Never-
Like a Greta Garbo sighting. She's just like showing her face for her fans for a moment.
Yeah.
No, I'm not
Yeah.
sold on this video.
I'm not
No.
sold on it either.
No, yeah.
Especially if
So
it's
I
the-
think if we take a vote right now from the group, I think the group will say it's fake. I think. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
my vote, I think is fake. What do you guys say?
fake.
No, I think it's fake.
Yeah.
It's stated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going with fake. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He was standing there waving, says.
It's like, hey, like, hey, would you like some beef jerky?
The cameras
Hey,
didn't clip
guys.
out or anything. If the cameras would have clipped out at some point, maybe.
Yeah.
But I actually read that before that happened, like the year before, that train company staged a UFO sighting as well.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, but I haven't heard anything else. But I did read that somewhere.
Oh,
It's to sell tickets then. There we go.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
Travel
mean-
across country, see all the cryptids, see the aliens.
definitely fake.
I would double check that, but I definitely did hear it.
No,
It'd be like,
because I'm interested in the subject, guys. I'm gonna ask you guys as experts, what video do you recommend that I watch that is the most believable in your mind that you think that when I see it, I'm gonna be like, wow.
That
You know,
squeaky
which
one.
video do you recommend that I watch?
For
That's
what?
squeaky.
Bigfoot?
Squeaky Bigfoot.
What is it? Wakey?
It's
Squeaky.
squeaky.
Squeaky. Okay.
It's what is the word? Thermal. It's a thermal video
Oh.
of. They put those or nugget. Is it a nugget bar?
Yeah, the candy bar video. Yeah.
Magnet.
Yeah, yeah.
Magnet.
Me and you met the guy, Glenn.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the candy bar video. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm writing
it's
it
like
down.
an
I'm writing it
Abba
down.
Squeaky.
That to me is probably, I mean, short of Patterson Gimlin, which is the gold standard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Um,
it's the squeaky video with the Zagnut bars.
yeah, Zagnut.
And what makes
Yeah.
it so special? If you guys don't mind
Well,
saying.
We've more or less confirmed it with somebody who was there-ish. That's all I'm going to say. Like it's not.
Okay,
It's not
okay.
It's not hearsay to
Well,
me.
Yeah, it's not hearsay. But the other thing to me was, if you looked at the way it was almost like a mischievous child crawling, like soldier style.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
most
really?
kids would have ran up and stole the candy bar. You know, does that make sense? But
Yeah.
this was almost like military style. To
It
get
did a
it
lot of
wanted that piece of chocolate.
It did a lot of the textbook thing you hear that they do.
Yes.
And what state was this and when? Do you guys
North
remember?
Carolina, about 10 years ago.
Carolinas, yeah, probably about 10 years ago. Yeah.
2011, maybe.
Yeah.
It's when I didn't
think-
know. Well, I knew about it, but I didn't like pay attention to it until we talked to these certain individuals. And I
Well,
was
I'm
like,
glad
wow.
I talked to you guys about it because now I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna look. And maybe next time I come, I'll I'll tell you what I think.
Yeah. Does Glenn have your information, or does Sportcat have your information?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've got
Okay.
I've
Here's
got
the-
his secret
Cool.
squirrel information.
There's the other one in the swamp of
Awesome.
Mississippi that's a good one too, but I can't think of the name. It's
And what
tearing
did
a tree.
what did somebody just write? The Sean something video? Let me see.
It was
Oh,
one trying the tree crime.
Sean
Oh,
video.
I'm not familiar with that one.
The one
Hang on.
throwing the tree crumb.
Oh, that's not.
That's
Wendell, that was
Wendell.
fake.
Oh yeah.
That was not.
All right,
There's-
Isaac.
there's-
we asked- Go ahead, Bobby.
There's what he's talking about. There was one. There was like a crime scene tape in the wood for some reason, and like
some reason.
this tree just goes flying like a full size tree,
Oh yeah, I saw
like a
that.
30-foot cedar, and then you see the thing, and it looks like a guy in a 3-in-1 parka. It looks like a duck guy, and I don't know. I mean, it's a good one, but I don't know if I'd go saying it was evidence. It was a good TikTok, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I watched like 1,000 times. But look up the just look up Mississippi Swamp Bigfoot video. It's called
will.
something. And yeah, it's a pretty good one.
Go ahead, Sport. I think you were gonna say something.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I was going to ask. We ask all of our guests. Have you had a paranormal or Bigfoot experience? Something go bump in the night? Have you?
You know,
When
the
did
only
this
thing that I had, because I knew you were gonna ask me this, and I'm gonna tell you the story, and I don't know what it was, but I'm gonna tell you what happened to me. So you guys remember Blackwater, right? Blackwater was in the news a long time ago.
Yeah.
So when Blackwater was still around, it was in Southern Virginia. I had a Harley Davidson. So I used to love to ride my Harley everywhere I went. So they told us, Isaac, we're gonna have a training overnight at Blackwater, and they're gonna provide rooming for us, lodging. So I'm like, oh, great! I'm gonna ride my bike down there. It's like about, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours from my house. So I ride down there. When we show up down there, and the training was gonna go till like 10 o'clock at night, they said, I'm sorry, guys. Somebody took our rooms, so we have nowhere to stay, and you guys have to sleep in your cars. And I'm like, well,
what?
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I rode my motorcycle, and I don't feel like sleeping on the floor. So I'm like, so I started calling around, and this was before iPhones and all that. It was the flip phones.
Yeah.
And I started calling around, and there was a bed and breakfast right outside Blackwater, like in the little town there. But Blackwater, at the time, they had no lights, nothing at all. Okay, no street lights, nothing. But it was like kind of like a little full moon, not a full moon, but kind of like you can see a little. So I'm like, okay. So I called the B&B, and they're like, yeah, we have a room. Come. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come after the training. Blah blah blah. And then I get on my motorcycle, and the guys tell me, my colleagues said, you're crazy, man. You're crazy. It's dark out there. You're riding out there. And I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna sleep on the floor, guys. I'm sorry. So anyway, so I get on my motorcycle at 9:30. I start riding, and I'm going, you're just going, and all of a sudden I hear this ruffling in the bushes, and something comes out and starts galloping right beside me, a big animal. I don't know if it was a bear. I couldn't see. I thought it was a bear. And and you can hear, and I'm riding my motorcycle, and now my hands are sweating. I'm freaking out. My breath, I'm like breathing hard. I'm like, I have no idea what to do. I'm just riding, and this thing is riding beside me. And I could hear going, oh, like that, right? No. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna die here, and they're gonna find me till like tomorrow or whatever. So I'm like, God, tell me what to do, because I have no idea. So I started accelerating, right? I'm going like 35, and I start accelerating and going like 40, 45. And this thing starts running faster.
Oh my God.
Like that. And I'm like, I'm done. And then I'm like, okay, so I'm just going to go faster. So then I started going faster. And then when I passed 55, then I think it got tired of running and then just jumped back into the woods.
Oh my goodness, that's probably a dog man.
That's what I was going to say. It's a dog man.
I was thinking too, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, if it was a bear, if it was a mama bear, I don't know why it didn't kick me out of the bike, whatever. Was it a youngster that just wanted to like play with me? To this day, I have no idea what it was. I think it was a bear, but you guys have seen all kinds of stuff, whatever. I cannot tell you it was a bear. It was a big thing running beside me, and I just cannot tell you what it was.
I have no idea what the top speed of a bear is, but I wouldn't think
it runs
the thing. Yeah, I don't either. And the thing that makes me think even more about that is, if you were on a Harley, most Harleys have a really distinctive sound, and you could hear it over the Harley. Yeah. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and it was really loud. Because
and
I
one
don't
of the
even
things,
remember listening. And my Harley had after pipes. It wasn't that like quiet. It was loud.
The straight pipes,
yeah. I had the straight pipes, and it was,
you had a
like
helmet
that.
on too, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You had a helmet on too, right?
Oh yeah, I had a helmet too. Yeah, but my helmet didn't cover my ears, though. It was one of those, Yeah.
Oh, it was the open face.
Yeah, open face. Yeah.
Yeah,
so that has been my only experience with what I think was something weird. To me, it was probably a black bear, but I'm like, what is my black bear doing up so late? What is it doing up so late?
I vote dog man.
Yeah, I think I'm going with dog man. That would be mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be mine.
And then just to finish the story. So the next day I go back and I tell this story, and they're like, "You're nuts. That was a dream. You dreamt it.
Not a dream."
And then because I'm always joking, they're like, "You're full of it." Nobody believes you.
They immediately drug tested you.
Yeah, because you're always joking, and they're like, oh, go on.
Yeah, yeah. But guys,
tell
it's
us
been
another
great.
one.
It's been great. I'm so glad Marcel invited me. It's been great
I'm glad
hanging
she
out with you
invited you
guys for this
too.
hour. I really
It
appreciate
was a great show. Now, Isaac, tell everybody where they can find your book, where they can find you. I know you like to be a secret squirrel about some things, but tell us what you can about it.
Yeah, so my name is Isaac Betancourt, Betancourt. If you look at Amazon, you can see my name. It says Time Unwanted, and Time Unwanted, The Final Touch.
Okay.
I published that one, and then so that was my first book, and I kind of left a little cliffhanger just to see what people will tell me, and people wrote to me and says, you have to write another one. So then I wrote another one. But just so you guys know, as writers, if you ever think about writing, I'm gonna tell you the depressive part first, and then the exciting part second.
Okay.
So first, the depressive part is not less than 1% of writers make it big.
Yeah.
Of everybody, right?
Same with athletes, yeah.
Even now self-published, everybody self-publishes. The publishing house and the publishing house don't look at you unless you sell 25,000 books or more.
Wow.
Okay, that's another thing. And then the great thing is that I read recently, just to motivate me, it's like, if you keep writing, maybe someday you'll make it. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
How many books do you need to sell now, Isaac?
I'm sorry?
How many books do you need to sell now?
Oh my God, yeah.
It doesn't count if you buy them yourself, does it? So.
Anyhow, and then if you guys want to contact me, my email is easy. It's negotiationmatters@gmail.com. Negotiationmatters@gmail.com. You can write to me and I'll answer to you. Anybody that has a question, you can see me teaching negotiation all over the country. So you can see me on that too. So it was great to meet you guys, and it was a true pleasure.
Likewise.
Thank you.
I'm going to invite you back to the show. Quick question: do you know anything about challenge coins?
Do we give challenge coins?
No. Do you know anything about them?
Oh, I have plenty of them.
Okay. Well, we're going to book you on my other show then. Sold. So
I may shoot you an email too, before you know it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, make sure to check out Bobby Dizzle's site. Isaac, please come back. Marcella, doors open. We love you. I know Ross won't let me steal you. He's Secret Service. He'd show up in the middle of the night with a piano string over my bed. So I'm not even trying. But I do love you, and I do appreciate you coming. You're welcome anytime.
Both of you.
Oh, well, that's an idea. Yeah, both of you. Yeah, I'm not trying. Yeah, maybe you could see what was chasing him. Well, we do that off the air. I don't know that we're ready for it. Yeah, I don't know that we're ready to put that on the air. That would be a personal thing.
That's between me and Isaac.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready to know the truth, guys. I'm not ready.
Not ready. Not ready.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll find out you're
cannot
really
handle the
not
truth.
alien and probed.
Yeah.
You lost 4.5
I
hours
was
in that
hoping you
trip.
guys wouldn't ask me because I do see it. So that's all I'm going to say.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, we'll give Wendell the brownie point for the night for coming up with that question. So we'll talk off the air. Yeah, it was great. Please come back, both of you. It was a great episode. I loved it. It's something that we have never talked about on the channel is the cattle mutilation. So I'm glad that you brought it. Yeah, and you brought the police detective scientific mind to it, and I like that, and I think all of us here appreciate that. So,
very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. See you later.
Thanks.
See you soon. Thanks again. Rochelle, you going to come back and visit us again?
I think
Or
about
have
it.
we run you off? He'll think about it.
I think about it.
It was that bald guy up top, wasn't it? He was the one that ran you off. So.
What's that?
Jason's mic, his battery ran out of his mic.
Yeah, he's
headset
died.
He's just gesturing.
I'll come back again. You guys want to know more about what I do? I was hoping you wouldn't ask me a story either, because I'm like, where do I begin? My whole life is a supernatural story.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you do any work with like manifestation and angel numbers?
I do.
Because I'm putting together like a small series on my show. I'm reaching out to folks and just happen to hop on
Manifestation, definitely. Actually, Collage Monroe works with angel numbers and crystals and manifestation as well.
Can I have you both on?
Look, I would bring the whole family. I've got a goddaughter who does cardology, astrology, and palm reading. So we kind of get together and we read each other. It's fun.
I'm going to be reaching out to you soon.
Okay.
If you don't mind. I've got some, like, I'm trying to discover some things here. I'm like in the dark. I'm like in the dark trying to find a light switch. I think
Bobby's lost
thanks.
after Alabama lost their coach.
I see in the dark, so I do shadow work. So,
hey, just tell us, do you see Alabama winning a national championship the next decade? Boom, Bobby. Sorry. All right, guys.
Thanks,
I
guys.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Marcella.
Marcella, I will make sure Bobby has me on his show so that you don't feel all alone. So he might rush her.
No, she won't.
No, I won't.
Such a
feel alone.
threatening
That is
person.
Bodyguard. I am my own bodyguard.
That's right.
I don't doubt that. You probably do
Bobby's harmless.
ninjutsu.
He's a good guy.
But yeah, I appreciate it. It's been a great show. And real quick, I want to thank out to Yerg's Radio, yergsradio.com. Although we didn't get any calls, you're more than welcome to call anytime. 1-888-88-YERGZ, and Yergs will get the message to us. I want to thank DJY. Hold on, I got to do the special voice. WDJY for accepting our show onto their airwaves. And we're going to make a great partnership, and we're only going to grow more. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate everything. Those of you that haven't done it, please like, follow, share, and subscribe. Thumbs up. And we're looking forward to our next show. So I'm going to drag this crew back on here because I was really happy with them. All of the people on tonight's show. So. Everybody, Bobby, real quick, where can they find you?
BobbyDizzle.com, caffeinated cryptid.
There you go.
Nina?
I'll be on the Misfits next Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Oh, there too.
Marcella's not ready for them. She's not ready. She would diagnose us all. Marcella, where will you be? What do you got going on?
You know what? I do lots of different things. Look for me on Clubhouse. You said you were on there. Let's connect, and I will help you navigate it. But you can find me at marcella.com, or I think we talked about this, unscrupulouspsychopath.com. If you can spell it, you'll find me.
Can't spell it.
I can spell it.
I'll just WhatsApp you. Everybody, it's been a great evening. I appreciate you for tuning in. Thanks a lot. Have a good evening.
Yay.
Thank you.